Shout out, the Connects. Luis Guzman. Don't ever go, never leave my side. Passion's all I have, courage is my drive. And if I lost you, I would lose it all together. I wouldn't have
Welcome to I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast, where we highlight the journey of entrepreneurs, creatives, and business people alike to showcase that every light and dark moment create a beautiful piece of art. This is episode 47. I am your host, Luis Guzman. My guest today is the mayor of one of the most thriving and diverse cities in New Jersey and a civic leader in his community. A former 6th Ward councilman from 2013 to 2017, he then transitioned into his current role, proactively building the city of Rahway by supporting small local businesses' growth and promoting a melting pot of diversity that is vibrant and welcoming to all visiting. A man whose beliefs and roots are grounded in family, and through every light and dark moment he has faced, his strength lies in the love and support of his strong family component. A previous gym owner, a current owner, RJG Builders, and the responsibility of leading Rahway into its new chapter. One thing is for certain, he is dedicated, hardworking, and always of service to residents, and more importantly, the ones he loves. A man known for rocking the stage with R&B legends 112, a podcaster for the Rahway All Day podcast. What hasn't he done? And he's a Yankee fan just like me. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Raymond Giacobbe, welcome to the show.
Luis, pleasure, man. Thank you.
Pleasure having you, man. I appreciate it, man. I feel like we had a whole other podcast before the cameras turned on.
We definitely had some good conversations before it started.
Yeah,
definitely.
We got loose, man. Batting practice is done. You know what I mean?
It's good to get to know somebody.
Likewise, man. My pleasure's all mine. So I always ask every guest this question to set off everything. So I'm going to ask you the same. Who is Raymond Giacobbe?
Raymond Giacobbe is a Giacobbe. Pronounced correctly both ways. No, I'm a lifelong Rahway resident. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm someone who cares deeply about family, community, and leaving things better than we left it. I always, I have a 19-year-old son, and I'm always trying. I told you before we were speaking, I always try to give him little gems. And it's okay to want for yourself, but it's even better when you're able to give back and make other people's lives better. And just through public service, through, coaching sports, and just any way I could be involved in the community, even before, mayor or councilman title. I always say, the title I'm most proud of is dad, coach.
Amen, brother.
The things that, really are meaningful and impactful.
100%. And that kind of like just it just airs out of you, right? Like the sense of family, the sense of leadership, the sense of being a great father. Is that something that you learned from your father? Because I just see this natural leader quality in you. So
I've been blessed to have many different people I consider mentors in my life in different areas. My grandfather was a very, respected, successful businessman. Is a very respected. He's still alive, 96. God bless you.
Wow, God bless you.
Shout out
man.
Grandpa G.
Shout out Grandpa G.
But I always admired how he was so well respected, and how people truly valued what he did and what he said. I had my mother, who was a unbelievable parent, raised me and my brother, and did so in a way that instilled values of family and love, and my father's side as well.
Right.
But my mom was the active one there, raising my brother and I, and she taught me how to be a good parent. I had individuals like Tony Garay, God rest his soul, who is another, Garay family is a staple in the Rahway community. And my best friend is his son, his oldest son, Antonio. And,
okay.
I think I got a lot of my sense of pride of Rahway and giving back, because I was around it. Wrestling practice, football practice, soccer practice, whatever we were doing at the time. Big Tone was always the one to grab the station wagon full of kids and go over to Tony's Pizza and feed everybody.
Wow.
And you don't, at the time you're kids, so you're eating pizza, you're
not thinking about it.
About that.
Oh, it's great.
But it truly has an impact, because you see the actions. So, I can probably keep going on. Jim Kennedy, our current assemblyman, former mayor, is another individual who I hold in high regards. He gave us the foundation. I remember back in the early 90s when I was a young boy in Rahway, it wasn't the same Rahway it is now.
Gotcha.
And that all started with the foundation that Jim Kennedy gave us. He was mayor from 91 to 2010. And, a friend, a mentor. So, I believe that me wanting to, assume that role of council member and then eventually mayor came from seeing someone like Jim Kennedy, another guy from Rahway, another Rahway guy, and it's just you have all these different individuals that you see through their actions, and you make a decision as a person, like, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be? So gotcha. I've been blessed to have positive people that have impacted my life in a way that has been nothing but positive.
No, and again, like I told you, it comes right off you. Like you could tell you had good, authentic leaders around you that you kind of, took heed to what they were showing you. And you not just listened, and I think there's a big issue with a lot of people today, right, that want to try to strive for something bigger. They listen, they take in, but they don't implement and actually put into action.
Yep.
And I think that is the biggest gap.
Yeah, don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, we're from the old school, so that's one. It's like, you can't just talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And you being around, your mother and, for his name that just
Tony
escaped
Garrett, Big Tone, we call him.
Big Tone, like all these great influences. It's almost like you were being seasoned unconsciously to, take on this role of mayor that you are here today presently. So it's kind of cool how all that kind of comes back, 360 when you look back.
Absolutely,
it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, we talked. We were talking upstairs before we got in the room, and you were telling me how you came from the private sector. Curious, what did you? I mean, obviously, I rang off a couple things. I did my little research, but tell me the steps that happened in your life leading up to government and mayor. Like, tell me who was Raymond Giacobbe before getting into anything political.
So I did not grow up wanting to be the mayor of the city of Rahway. I did not
just stumbled across it.
Yeah, I didn't move. I didn't go up like, I got to do this and I got to do this. And I just really just grew up a kid from the community, doing sometimes stupid kid stuff, but always embraced and my village always took care of me. The city of Rahway always took care of me. So my wife and I, we started our family. We were dating for 5 years. I asked her to marry me in Dominican Republic, where she's from.
Nice.
Several months later, my daughter was born. So our marriage, we were born. My daughter was born probably 6 months after we were married, and I was a father at 21.
Holy cow! How was that? By the way, 21.
Let me tell you, it was a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise, because while my friends were out partying, I had a responsibility.
You were dad,
and yeah. So that made me just want to move different. And I started a business at 20 years old. 22 years old. I bought a car wash. A guy named Vince Dalu, he owned Vince's Car Wash on New Brunswick Ave in Rahway. My grandfather actually owned the building it was in. Vince wanted out. He was an older gentleman, wanted to retire. We negotiated a deal. I gave him a down payment and was paying him monthly. Ran that for 5 years and sold it. At that time, my wife and I, my wife was by my side the whole time, my right hand, with the car wash, with any thing that I wanted to do, and So after that, we did some real estate, some development, some flips. I owned a gym several years later. That's a whole different story how that came about. But I always tell kids, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I was younger, but I knew what I didn't want to be. And I didn't want to be a person that just punched the clock. And I'm not saying that a stable job is a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. But I always felt I just was willing to take the risk to be able to give my family more. So I always had that business mindset that, take calculated risks, but risk. And listen, I've had some failures. Not everything's worked out. I've made money and I've lost money.
Right.
But I looked at everything as an opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to grow in business, as a person. And in 2010, my wife and I, we built the house that we're currently living in, and we pretty much raised our family in Rahway. And that's where I started kind of wanting to get involved locally. I saw Rahway came a long way. It had tremendous potential. And at that time, I wanted to be a part of the decision-making process moving forward. I felt I was really invested in the city. My home's here. I'm raising my family here. Hopefully, my kids want to raise their family here, because I really just had a really positive experience growing up there. And it was something that, motivated me to want to get into government, not politics, government.
Government, exactly. No, I mean, hearing your backstory leading up to government, in office, it's inspiring. And I know that you're a man of honor. I could tell just by looking at you, and you're a man that, you know, just like myself, I take a lot of pride. I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, I think I kind of feel that same energy from you. And, you know, I saw you were, you know, you're getting emotional talking. And you don't need to talk about it. You don't have to, but I understand what happened in the family, and my condolences. And,
thank you.
You know, my heart goes out to you and your family, because I can't imagine, you know, how something like that could be for you. And, you know, I'm a father too. So it's I just want to let you know my heart is here for you and your family. And I give you nothing but strength to sit here today and be able to talk about your past so eloquently and keeping that passion and emotion and positivity.
I appreciate that, Luis. Really.
Absolutely, Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, just for the listeners, my daughter Annabella fortunately passed away in 2022. She was 22 years old, but through the tragedy, my wife, who is one of the most strongest, amazing people I know, took her grief and turned it into something that was so positive for the young women in the city of Rahway through the Bella Kind Foundation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that. Please,
yeah. So she's been running a foundation now. You know, I joke around. I go, you know, I may be the president, but my wife is the one who makes, and the volunteers. And Lindsay, who you met, is one of the volunteers as well. And these young women and ladies who are volunteer, their time really are truly making an impact. And you know, my wife just didn't want my daughter's legacy to go unheard, and her legacy of kindness, wanting to help others, were all things that we knew about her, but through going through the tragedy we went through, you know, you meet people that, you know, you think you know everyone your kid knows, but then you meet people that you never even met before, and they're telling you, you know, how positively they've impacted their lives. And she was on the rec volleyball team at Rutgers in New Brunswick, and the people that were part of that organization invited my wife and I, and my mom went. And everybody did a video, and this one young man spoke about how my daughter motivated him to put his stuff on film because he's a D1 player. Wow. And he was playing at a Division I school at that time. And he said, without Bella's motivation and encouragement, I'd still be at Rutgers playing rec because I didn't believe in myself. And it's just stuff like, you know, hearing stuff like that, and that like really, really motivated my wife and I to just like want to take our grief and, you know, put it towards something that is going to be positive for the individuals who we want to reach, and also something that's going to have my daughter's legacy live on in a way that, you know, we can be proud of. So
that's a beautiful thing, Mayor. And I do believe, I'm a man of faith, and I believe that your daughter is definitely an angel now, watching down on you and your family and seeing the work that you're doing. I do believe that we are here as service to one another. It's why you're a civic leader, why you're a mayor. We are here. Yeah, it's cool to have things, and it's cool to buy things. It's cool to have homes, cars, etc. Material things are fine, right? In moderation. But the most important thing that we need to keep in the forefront is let's be kind, good human beings and be of service to one another. And what you're doing with your wife, I mean, that is amazing. And the blessings that you are giving to other young women and families and extended families. I mean, those blessings, you're not even going to see those seeds. You don't need to, but just to know you're doing it, that's enough discernment that, you know, your job, you're doing your job as a human being.
I've actually already seen those seeds start to blossom. So every summer for the last, this is, I believe, now the third year, my wife has did a mentorship program for young women, and it's about women empowerment. It's about teaching them social skills. You know, she noticed that, you know, with the pandemic, a lot of these young women who are now in middle school age, they went through their grade school careers looking at a screen, you know, for the most part.
Right, yeah.
And there was a lot of issues with, you know, social anxiety, and you know, I witnessed firsthand some of these young women come and not be very, you know, receptive to wanting to speak to people. And then, you know, months later being at a different event and then seeing the same little girl, you know, so social and so active. It's like
flourishing.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, all the credit goes to my wife and the volunteers. And it's just, you know, it's, for me, it's part of the healing process. You know, you'll never fully heal, but it's just great to see that, you know, those seeds start to blossom. And, you know, my hope, and I think the goal of the organization is just to pay it forward. Hopefully one day when those young women are, you know, young adults and moms and so forth, they're going to, you know, give back to their community and be kind to others. And just that's how you really, how do you change the world? And it's really one person at a time. And
absolutely,
it's really, really, it motivates me. It really does. Because the truth is after that tragedy happened, I really was contemplating maybe stepping down from mayor. Wasn't sure if, I just wasn't sure. It happened right before my election in November. I wasn't going to drop out. I was going to go through with the election, but it was just, it was just something that was weighing on me. And then I remember, sitting there and thinking about my daughter and who she was and how proud she was of her dad being mayor. And I would always say to her, we don't quit. We're not quitters. You're not a quitter. Yeah. You start something, you finish it. And I ran that year, and I had the intention of being mayor for another 4 years. And that's what I told the public. And I felt that was my responsibility, my obligation, and my daughter would not want me to waver or renege on that. So I decided that wasn't the route I was going to take. Instead, I was going to dig down even harder and make her even prouder. So
that's such an amazing, inspiring story, man. And thank you for sharing that. It really means a lot to me, and I know to the listeners, anybody going through something very difficult or challenging, if that's a loss or anything financial, or most importantly in this, aspect, just, a loss of life. Like, if you're hearing this, understand that there is another day and you just got to push through that. Yeah. And you're a prime example of that. So God bless you, man.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson.
Yes.
And
how was that conversation?
It was awesome. And you see the boxer Mike Tyson, but the man Mike Tyson is completely different. And within that conversation, I spoke about how I saw his Broadway play, and he spoke about how his child passed away. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Years and years later, I would be, in that similar situation. And I remember, a lot, when tragedies like that happen afterwards, you have nothing but time to reflect. Your mind just runs. I can't
even imagine. No, I can't.
And I remember that show and Mike Tyson being so vulnerable and open to speaking about that tragedy. And I felt that if the baddest man on the planet, Iron Mike Tyson, could be vulnerable and succumb to his emotions when it came to talking about the tragedy of the loss of his daughter, then there's nothing wrong with me doing it.
Absolutely.
It's not a bad thing. And I some people wouldn't want to talk about it. Sometimes I feel that talking about it helps keep my daughter's legacy alive. And you part of that conversation with Mike Tyson is I told him, he grabbed my hand, and after I told him my daughter passed, and he goes, it's an effed up club that nobody wants to be a part of. He goes, but you have to tell your story, because you never know when your story is going to help someone else in need that you don't even know. And so, as much as sometimes as you can see, it's not exactly easy, and, it's emotional, I feel that, if I could tell my story, my wife's story, in parents, because I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And parents who have to go through it, sometimes have to know they're not alone, and that's why my wife does what she does with Bella Kind. That's why when I have the opportunity to share my story when it comes to my daughter, I have no problem doing it.
No, and it shows in all the work you're doing and what your wife is doing, and like you said, and I talked about this off camera. When you first got here, this is to help inspire somebody else. Mm-hmm. And how ironic is it that you just said those same exact words like that? So kind of feel like God's here in this room right now, and we're of service now to the listener, and to just being that kind of conduit to someone that's hearing this right now that really needs help. I really hope this resonates, because you're living proof that strength, passion, faith, and the willingness to never give up is something you breathe and live every day, man.
Absolutely.
And again, I know that's not something easy to talk about, and I do appreciate you sharing some of that. And I know it's not easy, but I know it will help somebody. And you're also doing the same in Rahway.
I'll be honest with you, it helps me too.
Yeah, it's cathartic, man.
It really is. It is.
I don't want to say therapy, but it is. There's something therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. It is.
It's therapeutic. Yeah.
I literally, before I drove out here, I stopped by her grave site and told her I loved her, and just it's not a bad thing.
No, it's listen. I mean, you got me, because I've only probably got choking up one other time doing my podcast, and you're getting me, because it's like I can really feel you on that, man, and it's like I just know the type of person you are from sitting here with you the last couple of minutes. You're a strong, faithful leader.
Thank you.
And I know that, you're keeping her name alive every day, and your wife is as well. And I I can't even be prouder of what you're doing for her. So, God bless. And I'm so thankful that you're doing all this to keep it going for everyone else and keeping her name alive. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you, Luis.
Oh, man. Wow. I want to, switch gears here to go back to Rahway. It's a little rough transition. I'm sorry.
It's all right. But my daughter loved Rahway too. So yeah.
Rahway proud.
That's it. Rahway all day.
Rahway all day. Yeah, we're gonna get to the podcast later. But yeah, so tell me. So you became a councilman, and then you got into you became a mayor. You can give me the story about that. How did that transition to being the mayor of Rahway?
So when I was appointed councilman in 2013. The mayor at the time had stepped down. New mayor was appointed. I was a council member in that individual's ward. I won the remaining 2 years left on that seat. In 14 and 16, I won re-election for a full 4-year term. In 17, because in Rahway every year they at reorganization meeting we elect a new council president.
Gotcha.
It could be the same person. Traditionally, we would always rotate. So in 17, I was elected by my peers to be council president. Unfortunately, towards the end of that year, there were some issues with the mayor, and he had to step down. The position became available, and it was something that, like I said, I didn't grow up wanting to be the mayor of Rahway, but when that opportunity presented itself, at that point, there was nothing else I wanted to do. Like, I really felt just strong and passionate about the potential. I felt confident in my ability and what I can do, and I felt confident in my council members that are, were my colleagues and now my team, and what our vision was for the city. And I wanted to make sure that, it continued. It was an opportunity that presented itself. And I just thought if I didn't take full advantage of it, I would definitely regret it later on in life. So.
No, and I mean, from what you're doing from 2017 to now, which we're going to get into, amazing work in Rahway.
Thank you.
You were basically bred for this. And I think going back to your story for a Big Tone and everybody, you were already kind of getting groomed into the leadership, into, kind of unconsciously preparing yourself for this moment.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question. And again, I told you before the cameras came on, I want to be naive. So I'm going to ask you sometimes funny questions.
No worries. No
What's the first day of being mayor look like? What did that, tell me your morning, what happened that day? I mean,
mine was a little unconventional because we had a mayor resign and I became mayor
Christmas
Eve.
Christmas Eve, yes. Yeah.
That's a whole different story. Maybe I'll come out for part 2. There could be a whole podcast by itself. Once I stepped into the role, for me, like I said, it was a little untraditional. I took over for the final year remaining on my predecessor's seat. So the people around me, they weren't necessarily my people, all good people, by the way. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but it's you feel a little uncomfortable and out of place because it's not your administration yet.
Yeah.
Once I ran for election in 18 and won my full 4-year term, the start of 19, I started building my team around me. But that first day, you want to get as much information as you can, and you have to be, you have to put any type of ego you have aside and be open to learn and grow as a person and be able to take on this role knowing that you don't know everything,
right?
But you're going to make sure you are, you educate yourself, you inform yourself, and I always say I like to keep people around me that aren't yes men or women, but individuals who I respect their decision. I respect their that they're professionals in their field, and I expect them, and I know that they will give me their best possible feedback on whatever that situation is. But I'm ultimately the one who has to make the decision at the end of the day, and the buck stops here. But without having a strong team around you to be able to bounce ideas off of it, hear what they have to say, that's part of making the best possible decision. And anyone who governs or makes decisions within a vacuum most times are not going to make the right decision. So I think that's like the first day is just kind of like, all right, this is my path moving forward, and it doesn't happen overnight. But I had a vision, I had a goal, and now I'm my 8th year in. It's it went by in a blink of an eye. But it's the people that are around me are my individuals, and you're not going to make every decision right, but I truly value their input. And when myself and council have to make a decision, we do so with as much, the best information, as much information as we possibly can.
I think that shows too, like I said, because I'm a fan of Rahway. I, constantly go there, have a cigar, or we'll go, get something to eat, whatever the case is. But just being in Rahway now versus what it was before you came into office, and again, this is me, naive, not into politics, not into government. I can see the small micro changes that are happening, whether it's just cleaner streets or a more vibrant small business front, more diversity, putting money back into the community, building these programs. What was the genesis of that? Or how do you keep pushing that forward to have more small business, more development, more diversity, melting pot? As I said, this is a melting pot of culture. How do you kind of like spearhead this whole thing and keep it going and keep it thriving?
So I would say, you got your core principles, your values, being from there, I truly believe that, I know what our community is about. We're a diverse community, right? It's extremely diverse. So there's no cookie cutter way to approach, any decision. But I truly feel that, you need a safe city. All right, people who come to your city to visit, people who live in your city want to feel safe while they're there. And shout out to the Rahway PD. They do an amazing job. Second is you have to have a clean city. Right? If you're walking through a city, I'm the kind of person, my truck's always clean.
Me too.
And I keep my closet as neat as I possibly can. Even though I'd be running in and out of it sometimes. But it's really about the presentation. Because if you want individuals to invest in your city, if you want people to want to live in your city, if you want people to want to come visit your city, you have to do your job and make sure that it's a safe, clean environment. And then once you have those things, then you can continue. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. You could do things, it could be all simultaneously, but you have to understand that you have to prioritize what's going to, highlight your city in the best possible way. And then you talk about programming, because now once your city's clean and safe, well, now you want business, right? You want growth. You want jobs for your residents. You want small business owners to be thriving, because they are the backbone of our nation.
Absolutely.
Let alone our city.
Community, yeah.
So, how do you do things to help streamline that process, to encourage people to come here and invest their money? How do you entice a person who's looking to, invest their life savings into something and then be confident that Rahway is the city to go? Well, how you do so is making them understand that this is a partnership. When you come into City Hall, we're going to streamline the process. We follow the process every time, but we want to make it in a way where if you're a new business owner, there's no surprises. Because I knew as a new business owner, going back to City Hall 3 or 4 different times when you could have been told everything at once, or it's just,
transparency.
And you're working on a very tight budget. So, it's just, and it was about creating a culture within City Hall that the residents and the people that are investing money here in the city are our customers, and we have to service them in a way that is respectful to them, and in a way that's going to allow them to not only do that current business, but want to continue to do business. So it really just from the building department to the health department to fire, zoning, it all has to work with with that kind of approach of, we're here to service you, and we want to make sure that this process is as seamless and as comfortable and as possible.
No, I love that, and I feel like once you have the steps in place and there's a systematic kind of, like you said, streamlined process to it. Number one, it's easier. Number two, people want to do business in Rahway. Yep. People want to open up things in Rahway. I told you I do fences. I love Rahway jobs. Rahway, we'll be right there. Right, we'll do it's because you guys make the process so easy. But I do believe that after a while, it kind of takes on a life of its own. And I think that's what's happening in Rahway right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, this is just, whoa. It's
word of mouth is the best advertisement.
Yes.
And early on, when I took the position as mayor, I felt that we needed to do more to highlight all the great things that we've currently accomplished and all the things that we have, in the future that we want to accomplish. And it was, it it was kind of like crazy that, I had friends that, from the business world and that weren't from Rahway that came downtown to maybe a fundraiser. I invited them to an event. They're like, oh man,
it's cool here.
I didn't know this. I'm like, you live in Woodbridge, man. Like, what are you talking about? How don't you know this is here? It's just, so, through our special improvement district, ways to, we constantly have events and ways to highlight our city. And sometimes people go, oh, what's the return on these events? Well, the return is getting people into our city, seeing our city for the first time. The return is building and creating a community where now your residents are coming out and interacting with one another. And there's no line item number that you're going to be able to pull and say, all right, this was the return. But the return is a vibrant community, a vibrant business community, and that's an investment. It's an investment in Rahway, and it's an investment in our future. And I think the more opportunities we give people to come down and enjoy our city, the better off we're going to be economically. The better off we're going to be as a community. And it's just creating when you're in a position like mayor or a CEO or anything like that, it's about creating a culture.
Correct.
And if people understand the culture, then that does truly have the trickle-down effect that, your directors and the employees are going to understand what the standard is and what the goal and the mission is. But it comes from the messaging and the guidance has to come from the very top. You have to lead by example. And I felt that myself and the city council and my administration have done that.
And allow me to add one more thing to the theory of culture. I want to say develop culture, but also a want. I think the want is... It's powerful because you're not forcing me to go and spend money at, a Forno or, go hang out at, I love this Cuban restaurant. I can't think of the name right now. Cubano. So, just going and really not just like, doing it because I'm hungry on a Friday or Saturday. No, I want to come here. Oh, maybe we'll buy a property. It's like, that's how these conversations begin. And I always say this on my podcast, Steve Jobs always said it best. You got to create, and in his words, it was a product. This is not product. This is culture. This is, a city.
The product of the city of Rahway.
Yeah, exactly. But you want to create a product that can touch somebody's heart. And he was referencing the iPod when it first came out. For you to press a button and have the song you love in your ears instantly, that's connecting to the heart. So I think what you're doing from a diverse standpoint and a small business standpoint in the city is really touching the heart of residents and visitors. And that's something that has a big ROI that you can't put a number on it, or you can't put a limit or value on it.
Very true.
It's just going to keep on just growing. That's why I'm so fascinated with this, creating this world, this life of its own, because it's got legs now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, again, it goes back to, your hard leadership work, the hard work you've been doing behind the scenes, handling these budgets, handling these plans. How do you, how hard of a task is it to, and again, I'm naive. I'm just asking like, a novice here. I got a business plan. I got a budget plan. You talked about, residents care about tangible things like potholes in the street.
Yes.
Something as small as that. What does it look like when you got this plan for the year and you got to allocate this money to make the city better? Where are your hands going?
That's a great question because, budgeting, with different, with every department, listen, every director comes to you and wants everything.
We need this. We need a new truck.
And, but it really just comes down to trusting your directors and their input, sitting down with my CFO, my business administrator, and really going line item by, not necessarily line item, but department by department, and determining what is right now needed, what can we pay for, what can wait to next year, But I truly believe the investment that we put into our senior services, to our recreation center, to different to different departments, health, wellness, and so forth. Like those things. I believe that it's almost our duty to make sure that we're funding them. It's our duty to make sure that we're keeping our residents and our kids active. It's our duty to make sure that we're providing services to our seniors and keeping them out and active and a part of the community, and feeling like they're seen and heard in our city. So, those things, I feel are necessities, and everything else you kind of go line item by line item, and you figure it out.
For this.
Hey, listen, it's on a much grander scale. It's kind of like your house, right? Are we going on this? Are we going on the European vacation? Are we going on the Convention of the Caribbean? Are we going on no vacation?
Staycation.
Yeah, staycation. We're going in the backyard. you tighten your belt when you need to, and but priorities are priorities, right? The mortgage has to be paid first.
Got it.
And that is how, year by year, myself and the city council, I present the budget to the council. Council, of course, always has a ton of questions, recommendations. And, we always move forward what I feel is the best budget, and that's fiscally responsible to the taxpayers, but still providing key services and quality services that our residents are accustomed to and quite frankly deserve, so.
Totally agree, man. No, and like I said, a balancing act is the best analogy to give this. It's kind of like you're just, not blindfolded like the statue in the court system, but you're kind of just balancing out the scale, seeing. I kind of, comparing it to, and like a baseball team, we need pitching, so why are we getting 2 batters?
Yeah.
We got to focus on pitching, guys.
I'm big on the sports analogies.
Yeah, I'm a big sports guy.
I try not to do it too much because sometimes my staff looks at me like another sports analogy, but you're right though. It's any organization that you're running, there is a budget, whether it's Major League Baseball or the city of Rahway.
Correct.
And you have to make decisions based off of what you feel is best and the money that you have available to you to spend. That's why, teaming up with nonprofits as a mayor to me is something that, I love to do. I'm a big believer in this is not, I'm the mayor, but we are all a part of building this community of Rahway or this city of Rahway.
Yeah.
Whether you're a coach on a Little League team, whether you're a teacher, whether you're someone that's, volunteering at the local food shelter or, at the local daycare center, like it takes all of us to really build this community and to have that village that I talked about before, that these young individuals who are here now are going to be proud from where they come from. They're going to hopefully they're blessed like I was to have positive mentors around them. And that's the cycle, right? That's the cycle you hope to create, to leave everything, better than you found it. And it's just, but it's really just about getting out there and doing the work and putting forth policies and so forth that positively impact the people.
100%, man. And like I said, you're doing the balancing scale, and I think you're doing a great job of kind of coordinating and developing at a steady pace, at a fair pace, but also keeping in mind what's important for the residents of Rahway.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest key takeaway. And with growth, with development, with the want, with the culture, there's also, and this is like more of a personal question, but also kind of like tying into the growth. With growth, there's pain. And what I mean by pain is 2017, I lived in Rahway before you were mayor, so no knock on you. And I remember I was in an apartment and I was in my living room and I was just on my phone and I hear something. I'm like, what the heck was that? And then you hear it again. So you get up, my window was open and someone was trying to come into the bedroom and steal. I couldn't catch the guy, but kudos to Rahway PD, called 2 minutes, bam. It was like amazing because I'm originally from Elizabeth. Whoa. So I'll be waiting a while. No knock on Elizabeth. I love you. But with growth comes pain. How are you guys navigating now with this more surge into the city? Crime can go up or crime can be an issue. Rahway PD is awesome. How honed in are you to the policies in place with local PD, and how are they enforcing to keep crime minimal in the city?
Well, crime and violent crime has went down every year since I've been mayor. I'm very proud of that statistic.
Nice.
But that's not something that I'm going to take credit for. I'm going to give the credit to the Rahway Police Department and the men and women who are out there every day and night, protecting our community, keeping our community safe. Our PD is, we're not reactive. We're very proactive. We don't want to react to things. We want to try to have a proactive approach to crime and to safety. And the individuals who run our PD, their belief is that if people are comfortable calling the police, then you're going to be able to have the opportunity to stop and solve more crimes. If they're comfortable talking to the police.
Correct.
And that starts with community engagement. It starts with culture. It starts with the individuals, the residents of Rahway not feeling like the police are an occupying army looking to lock them up, but they're truly there to protect and serve them. And that's the culture of our police department. And as new people move in, there's going to be new faces, but everyone who is here in our city deserves the respect and the professionalism that our police department carries with them every single day. We do things that are in a way proactive when it comes to our police training. We have funny story.
Here we go. Bring it on. I love the good stuff.
My stepfather, Joe Boss, is a 25-year veteran of the Rahway Police Department. Right,
Nice.
Retired, worked mostly night shift.
Okay.
Retired several years ago. Before I became mayor, I believe I was on council when he retired. And I remember at his retirement party, I said, Joe, I go, and you ever pull your gun out? You ever have to fire your gun in all your time as a Rahway police officer? He goes, no. And I go, really? I go, all that time, you never. I didn't feel I had to. Wow. Now, background on my stepdad, he is a black belt 76 Olympian in judo. He was on the 76 Olympic team. But also he's 5'3", about 130 pounds.
Silent but deadly.
But it resonated with me, that conversation, because the confidence that he had while he was telling me that. And not a huge man when it comes to stature. Like, it's not like
5'3",
he's like this 7-foot dude. But he had so much confidence in his ability to be able to handle any situation with his hands. He never felt that he had to go to his most deadliest option.
Gotcha.
And I wanted every officer on my police department to have that same confidence, because that way, the truth is with policing, we practice and we preach de-escalation. But there are some times when situations escalate. And at that point, your training kicks in. And what are you going to do as an officer? And if you're going for a weapon, that's going to end bad more times than it doesn't.
Yes.
And regardless if you're committing a crime, I still believe that you have a right to your life and to be processed under the law and giving your due process. But I wanted my officers to have that confidence. So we implemented a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial arts class for our officers.
Oh, nice.
Within 6 months of that training, an individual who's mentally ill and on drugs was biting people on the train station plaza. And when he was apprehended, he was done so in a way using the training that these officers learned several months before. Wow. He was admitted and got the help he needed. Everyone, including our officers and that gentleman, walked away safely. And that right there was just to me, a shining example of when you implement programs that's giving your officers tools that are not a deadly option, giving them confidence that they're able to handle these situations, with their training. You're going to see less shootings and less killings because officers don't feel the need to go to that route, and it's paid dividends. The next thing we implemented that's kind of outside the box is a software program which does reviews of the body camera footage. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to give you a sports analogy. It's like an athlete watching game film.
Really? Okay.
We don't do it to jam up the officers.
Right.
Sorry, my mouth's getting dry. I'm talking
you're
too
good,
much.
Man. You want another bottle of water?
No, I'm good.
You sure? Okay.
And it's not to jam up the officers. It's not to discipline the officers. It's so them and their supervisors have an opportunity at certain situations, traffic stop, domestic violence, is to look at the body cam footage and give an assessment of the performance. And being a civilian, I wasn't very familiar, especially when I first became mayor, of these performance, we call them performance indicators.
Performance indicators, yeah.
There's certain things that are at a traffic stop that needs to be done. There's certain things at a domestic violence call that should be done.
Protocols.
Protocols that keep the officer safe, that keep the resident safe. And, unless you're constantly, looking at yourself in that, you're not going to go back, later on when you're writing a report. Well, I did this right, but I didn't do that right.
Got to watch the game tape.
Watch the game tape. Yeah. And, our officers at first were a little reluctant because, I understand you're like, oh, this is just a way to jam us up.
It's insecure. Yeah. They get,
listen, I would probably be skeptical at first too, because it's something new. But I think the officers had a trust in, my administration, and I spoke to several members of the union where I said, listen, this is not that, guys. This is to get you better. This is so that you're able to look at your performance and know that what you're doing the correct things and improve on the things that you may or may not be doing correct, and use this as a tool. It's not and now officers embraced it. They embraced the martial arts training. And those are just two instances where outside the box kind of things for our police officers help keep the city of Rahway safe. Back to your original question, as we expand, as we continue to grow, as we see more people coming in and out of our city.
I love that, man. What a great to put a bookend on that, because that was beautiful. And I'm a big fan of training when it comes to police officers. I think they have a high-strung anxiety, stressful type of job. Help these officers be better at their jobs. If someone's struggling, coach for success, which is the game tape, right?
Yep.
You're not coaching to say, gotcha. You're coaching for success. Hey, listen, this is the way we should do it. Let's look at this together. Let's be proactive. Let's kind of fix the blemishes, and let's get back on point, and that's a beautiful thing, because with all the stress they have already, adding something to their plate that's beneficial to de-escalating situations like the judo, that is amazing. Yep. That is something that I think should be mandatory for every municipality, besides other programs. I don't think, and
not to interrupt you, but other municipalities have heard about it. They caught on. So it is expanding quietly, but throughout Union County and different agencies in the state. But unfortunately, because of budgetary restraints and cuts, sometimes police officers, they go to the academy, they ride around with a superior officer for a few months, and then they're given a badge and a gun, and they're saying, figure it out. And that is a disservice to the residents. That's a disservice to that officer. And when you invest in training, you see a return on that, because when the what hits the fan, you revert back to your training.
Correct.
You revert back to what you know. And the better trained the officers are, the more thorough that they are. It's just like an athlete. You see the play, you react to the play. It's very a lot of parallels, and our officers are doing an amazing job keeping the city safe, and I'm very proud of our PD and listen, and our fire department, our DPW.
No, you guys are amazing all across the board.
And it's a pleasure to work with professionals and people who get it.
I love it, man. The captain, the chief of police, is he enamored with lights on cars, on these cop cars? I don't know why, but Rahway has all the lights in the world with their cop cars. Is it just me overthinking it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't dig that much into the weeds.
I know. It's just something. It's honorable, right? I just thought it was a funny thought that came to me. Rahway always has a lot of lights on their cars.
Well seen, that's for sure.
What's next for Rahway? What's your vision in the next coming months, in the next year? Like, where do you want to see this city grow to and expand to?
So obviously, we want to continue providing and expanding upon the great services that our residents are accustomed to. We want to make sure that we're continuing, through our special improvement district and our economic development department. We're continuing to do things that are beneficial and helpful to our small businesses and our businesses as a whole. Right now, my vision for our vision, because it's not just me. City council, my administration, my team. Our vision, over the next, I'd say 5 to 10 years, is to continue to build on the success that we've had. When you talk about development, we are focusing on non-residential development, bringing jobs and industry into the city. I think that the residential development that we've done over even before I was here, starting from Mayor Kennedy all the way on through, is beneficial and it worked. But you also have to have a more comprehensive plan than just putting apartment complexes up. And I truly believe that the phase 2 and the growth in our city is now through, getting businesses to invest, non-residential development, whether it's office space, warehouse space, creating jobs that our residents can,
industrialism,
can apply for, and making sure that we're continuing to not get complacent. You got and things change. Government is ever evolving, so you have a plan, you move forward with that plan, but you might have to adapt. You may have to call an audible, another sports analogy.
There you go. I hear you, brother. It's all good, man. It's part of the gig.
Yeah, and
it's part of the gig.
And but the vision and the plan and the path is clear. And when it comes to our municipal facilities, I literally just had a meeting this week, a very preliminary meeting discussing upgrades and renovations to all of our municipal facilities.
Awesome.
City Hall, Recreation Center, Library, Senior Services. A comprehensive plan, because we have great buildings, but they were built. Some of them were built before I was born, and some of them were built when I wasn't even old enough to drink. So it's time. But it's
a little touch up.
Yeah, but it's time to look towards the future.
I like it.
And it's not just the aesthetics. It's making them more energy efficient, making them more of a workflow and more of a flow for our residents when they come and visit, and safety precautions. It's just like I said, a comprehensive look at our facilities and a way that we can financially responsibly, upgrade these facilities and do so in a way where it leaves these facilities ready for my kid, my grandkids, and generations to come. And that for me is the kind of the grand scheme, the grand plan of things. So next 5 to 10 years.
That's a beautiful plan, man. I think industrialism, it drives revenue into the city. I mean, again, thankful for every small business, right? The
Absolutely.
backbone of the community, the backbone of the nation. But the big industry, that's where, you're going to get your big overflow of creating more jobs. And, as far as the taxes go, with the more industry in the city, does that help with the taxes? And, it just brings more growth, no?
Brings more revenue.
It
brings more revenue into the city. That revenue has helped to offset. Listen, the truth is that the cost of business is always going up.
Yeah.
Right. And it's no different for the city of Rahway.
Yeah.
People want increases in salaries, products, material, equipment, everything goes up. But it's getting creative and bringing in new revenue, so the burden of the cost of that increase does not solely fall on the taxpayer.
Correct.
And that is the goal. That's the mission: is to grow the economy, grow the city, but do so in a way where it's responsible, and do so in a way where it's a positive thing for the homeowners and the residents who do pay the property owners who do pay the property tax. So
Correct.
it's like you said before, it's a fine balance.
It's a balancing act, man.
It's fun. It's fun because you're able to go to work every day, work with professionals, and do things that are going to positively impact the people that you grew up with, the people that are your neighbors you see at the park and at the ball games, and it's a good feeling to be able to put your efforts and your energy towards something that for generations to come can have a positive impact around not just you and your family, but everyone around you.
Yeah, and I think this all dials back into passion.
Yes.
I think you are just very passionate about what you're doing. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to interview you just because of that, but also because you're kind of cool. Like, it's cool to meet somebody that's just cool. Am I crazy? Like, seriously, you can meet anybody, right?
You hear that, little Ray? Your dad's cool.
My man, pots and pans.
Even though you don't think so.
I mean, not too many mayors could get on stage and sing with 112.
Yeah,
can you tell me about that, dude? I mean, you were spitting.
Oh, so
come on, you had bars.
So
you brought me back.
I grew up in the 90s when I believe hip hop was at the
golden era.
Yeah, it was the golden era. I mean, it was just a raw art form that the youth embraced, and it was Biggie, 112,
Tupac,
Nas,
Jay-Z.
Tupac, Jay-Z, Outkast. I can keep going on and on. All these rappers.
Gym playlist.
Exactly, mine too. All these rappers from the 90s, just they were trailblazers. They were individuals who told a story, and that story was raw and it was real. And it attracted me because I've always been a fan of real. Whether listen, I didn't grow up in a housing project. I didn't grow up in those situations, but I also didn't grow up an Italian mobster, and I like those movies too because they're real. They're real movies, and exactly. But it's just they're real stories coming from real situations. And Rahway, like I said, is a very diverse community. We're actually a third across the board, pretty much when you call as far as Caucasian, African American, Black, and Latino, Hispanic.
Wow.
So yeah, it's I mean, give or take a percentage point here or there, but it's literally a third across the board.
Wow.
And growing up in such a diverse community, you learn from other people's cultures. You have the ability to understand and see people in a light that if you grew up in a bubble where everyone was the same religion or the same race or the same ethnicity, what are you really learning? You're not broadening.
You're not growing.
You're not growing, exactly. Yeah. And hip hop was just an example of growing up in a diverse community, and having your buddy on the football team go, "What's that? Oh, it's that new new Biggie album."
That's the best, man. Yeah, that's a good feeling.
And with all that, and that's kind of the background to like how I got exposed and introduced to hip hop, which someone told me the music you listen to in high school you'll be listening to well in your 40s and 50s. when they told me that 20-something years ago, now I'm like, damn, they were right.
They're right. Yeah, it's still lit. Listen, if you see my playlist, everybody will probably make fun of me. Like, whoa, you listen to that? Like, it's all between like the 90s to 2002-ish.
Yep.
And then a little bit of what's new today, but it doesn't resonate with me as much as like that golden era.
Absolutely.
You know?
So, 112 was the first group since I've been mayor that I could say I was like a real fan of. I sang that to my girlfriend, now my wife. So it was. It was really cool to meet them.
That's awesome, man.
When I was backstage, my wife and I, we got to shake Slim and
Slim.
Mike's still got his name.
I know Slim. My wife that she's out there. She probably knows all the other ones, but I remember Slim. He was my favorite.
And I joked with him. I go, listen, if you need me to hop in and rap Biggie's part, Only You, I know it word for word.
Word for word.
So they go, don't mess around. We'll pull you up on stage. And sure enough, I introduced them. I come back off the stage, and the manager goes, they're going to do a Biggie tribute. 112 wants you on stage. And I'm like, nah. He's like, no, serious. I'm like,
they're dead serious. They pulled your card.
They pulled my card. And I was like, you know what? F it. When are you going to have the opportunity to perform with the R&B group that you grew up listening to, singing their songs to your girlfriend?
Yo, that's like bucket list
stuff. So I was like,
awesome.
what? Let's do it.
And
then when I got out there, I just got in the moment. I was just,
you was vibing. I saw the video. I mean, you were going in, man.
And then I remember, that was the Thursday night. I took that Friday off. My wife and I, we were just going to spend the day together, go down the shore. And I remember I woke up the next morning. I'm like, what'd I do? So I go to my wife, I go,
it's on YouTube.
I like this. I go, what do you think about last night? She goes, oh, no, I loved it. I go, no, you loved it, but how do you think it's going to be perceived? Yeah. So as we're driving down the shore, and she's never on social media. She's like, nah, you got like 500 comments right here, and it's all positive. And what that shows is that people respect and want to see, their, community leaders, politicians, whatever title you want to give them, real. They want to see real people.
Yes.
They want to see people that are willing to get up there and maybe not necessarily make a fool of himself, but be vulnerable, do things that are outside the standard of what political correctness is. And the funny thing is I think one of the comments was something because part of the lyrics was Papa and Puff, and at the time,
oh my God,
Diddy was arrested, and the person was like, "How dare he?" And I'm like,
dude, it's not that serious.
Yeah, and it's just it wasn't a political stance, guys. It was
we're having fun.
We're having fun, and I think what he did is deplorable and disgusting, and it's horrific. But that doesn't necessarily represent Biggie. Biggie's been dead for
forever. It's two different
years.
eras and two different people, and you're just reliving a moment of your young youth.
Exactly.
And you're having whatever happened to just being a human being, right? Whatever happened to just having fun and not be judged over it or not be scrutinized. Oh, you wear a tie and you make decisions. You can't rap. Jesus, the notes over here. You can't do it. But come on, you're a human being.
So I told my son, I only know how to be one way, and that's me.
Thank you.
And I respect my title. I think I conduct myself with the understanding that there is a certain standard that has to come with that title and a certain type of respect that you have to have for that title and the way you need to present yourself. But you're also a real person. You're also an individual who has emotions, has fun. And I think that if you allow people to not just see, Mayor Giacobbe, but who Ray Giacobbe, and I never talk about myself in the third person either, by the way.
It's all good, man. You started today.
But if you truly allow them to see who you are,
yes,
then they know you, and then when you're talking to these individuals and you're presenting something to it, you're not coming at them in a way where it's like political or it's a way where it's like you're salesy about it. They have a trust in you because you've been authentic up to that point.
Correct.
So why would you not continue, that when you're sitting there having conversations or talking about a project or talking about whatever it is that, the residents may be concerned of? I feel that when you're real and you allow yourself to be perceived and you put yourself out there as such, people are going to have an easier time, having those conversations and then believing what you're saying.
I believe what you're saying is true. Being authentic and being yourself and kind of gaining people's trust, that is the biggest way. That's the biggest pathway to respect.
100%.
I mean, you think about it. In school, we always studied and worked the hardest for the coolest teachers. right?
100%.
Because the coolest teachers, you know, they're going to be cool, but they're going to toe the line of, hey, we got to respect him or her and do good and not disrespect him or her. And they earn that respect by being real.
Yes.
Versus a teacher that's like, no, you can't do this. Don't. No, the buy-in's not there.
Yeah.
So again, going back to, you know, me wanting to have you on the podcast, I respected the coolness, but also the authenticity that I can, again, me not having one conversation with you, I can see, wow, this guy is a real dude.
Thank you.
I mean, he's genuine, you know?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So now getting back to, so you went from 112, being the singer. It was an awesome show, by the way, awesome video. I love that. So I feel connected to you because I'm a big, you know, hip hop fan as well.
Absolutely.
Now I read about you having a podcast. Is that still something you're doing currently? Rahway All Day? Can you speak a little bit about that?
So we started a podcast, the Rahway All Day podcast, and the saying Rahway All Day is basically like Rahway first. You know, like we wake up all day, every day, and myself, my administration, city council, we're working towards a better Rahway. So that's kind of where the Rahway All Day slogan came from. The podcast is really just a way for residents in Rahway to tune in and you know, hear and see what's going on with their local government. You know, we had Assemblywoman Linda Carter on.
Nice.
We had Assemblyman Jim Kennedy on. We had DJ Drewski on.
Drewski, good friend of mine. Yeah, he was on this podcast too. Shout out Drewski, man.
Really good guy. Really good dude. And you know, it's really just a way to kind of highlight Rahway and give Rahway a platform. And give the residents another, I guess you could say, avenue to tune in and find out, you know, what's going on and all the great things. And you know, we shot 3 episodes earlier in the year. Obviously, schedule got a little busy.
Of course,
but we're looking to shoot some more episodes towards the end of the year. And listen, I'd love to have you on.
We'd love to come on, man.
We'll reverse it. Yeah, we'll reverse it.
My man, but absolutely, brother.
But yeah, it's just, you know, I'm not a podcaster. It was just kind of another cool, creative, outside the box way to, you know, get in touch and in tune with what platforms people are on.
Exactly.
You know, early on when social media first, you know, took the world by storm, a lot of politicians, a lot of people in government were very hesitant to use it as a tool. And until they saw the power of it and the ability to reach, you know, millions of people in a moment where they actually started using it. And you know, you have to go to where the people are at.
Thank you. Yes.
If you're putting out statements in a hard copy newspaper, odds are not too many people are seeing it these days. But if you're out there and you're putting your messaging and you're speaking about things on platforms where people are tuned into, you're going to reach more people. And at the end of the day, isn't that the goal? You know, isn't the goal
100%
to make sure that, you know, if you're representing a group of individuals, that you're able to, you know, communicate, you know, transparency, like all these things are important. And it starts by kind of going to the platforms where they're at to have those conversations and to, you know, have that communication.
You got to meet them halfway, right? I mean, when we were younger, we planned on, you know, going to school with the coolest outfit. You know why? Because everybody saw us at school. You didn't have social media. You didn't have a phone. You didn't have cameras, right? So now, fast forward 2025, content is paramount to everything. With one podcast, you can reach thousands of people than you can walking around the streets of Rahway and just greeting people hand by hand, which is still great. I believe in grassroots, right?
Oh, 100%.
But you gotta get with the times. And again, I could be talking out of school here, but I haven't seen any other mayor really much do that. Like, again, going back to the cool factor and the kind of being disruptive. Like, I'm a big fan of disruptiveness. Like, let's break the mold. Let's do something that no one else is doing and watch how the eyes go. So I applaud you for that, and I can't wait to see what else you do with that podcast platform.
Thank you.
Because that's a cool thing.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. And I got a great PR staff, and you know they're very creative young women who are, I'm sure, going to come up with a bunch of cool different themes and different ways to get it out there and make it cool.
I love it, brother. Love it, man. I got a couple. We call these mastermind questions. I always ask them to every guest. Mm-hmm. Think fast. If you have a story to go along with it, please share. But it's just for the audience to get to know you a little bit more on a personal level. Mm-hmm. What book have you read that inspired you the most?
Oh, man, that's a great question. So, Laws of Power.
Laws of Power. 48 Laws of Power?
48 Laws of Power, yeah.
Love it. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, just I'm not a pleasure reader. I'm a reader that, I want to get something out of it.
Yeah.
I want to sharpen my craft.
Sharpen the mental tools.
Yeah, sharpen the mental tools. And it's important to to read and consume things that are going to help you grow, as we've been talking about as a person.
Yeah.
So.
Love it, brother. Love it. What person in your life has brought you the most influence?
Oh man, that's a great question. My grandfather, Rahway All, Giacobbe. I spoke about him before.
Yeah.
Still alive to this day, 96 years old.
God bless him.
My mother's my mother. She's my heart. she's my heart. It's that simple. But my grandfather, he was the one that you wanted to be like. He's the one that you want.
He's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, still to this day, I run into people that knew him and did business with him or whatever, and always the same. Your grandfather, stand-up guy, well respected, hard worker.
Nice.
Cared. Gave back. He was just a. He is. I shouldn't say.
Let me stop talking about him. Stop talking about him past tense.
But yeah, he is an individual who, growing up, I always wanted to emulate and be like, because of just how much I admired and respected him and saw how everyone else did as well. And that's earned by your actions, right?
Yes, sir.
That's not something you can demand. It's something that you earn. So
100%, man. Beautiful story, man. What keeps you driven in life?
My son.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. My son
second year
at
Rutgers Division I.
Playing football. Yeah, he's left guard. He's a walk-on. He had opportunities at smaller schools. He wanted to, live his dream of playing at Rutgers in Division I football and playing Division I football. And he has to earn his spot every day, but he goes about it with such a focus and in a way where he understands the process and he embraces going in there and getting better every day. And I told him, I go, football is not going to define you.
Yeah,
this is just a chapter in your life that's going to help you get better, learn the value of teamwork, sacrifice, hard work, everything that goes along with being on a team, being part of a division, responsibility. I mean. He has a 3.8 GPA and
crushing. Playing Division I and keeping a 3.8.
And he has exceeded my expectations, and I'm just so proud of him. And he is my motivation. He is my motivation for life. He's my motivation to be a better man. He's my motivation to be even a better mayor, because I know it makes him proud.
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful. Have you ever had any vices, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, I was never a big drinker, drugs, anything like that. For me, sometimes I'm too giving when it comes to family members and stuff like that.
Me and my wife are too.
Yeah. Sometimes my wife's like you know how much that was. So I'm like, oh, it's only money. She's like, yeah, but it's still money, but. I never, but let me say this though. I grew up with people that I loved that are near and dear to my heart that suffered from alcoholism, were so negatively affected by it. And, it's a horrible disease, and anyone who is, fighting that battle, it's one day at a time. I had a family member who I love near and dear, who is, turned his entire life around and was drinking for decades.
Nice. Wow.
Decades. And I asked him what's the difference this time around? He goes, I want to do it. Every other time I did it for somebody else. I did it because the court ordered me to do it. I did it because my parents told me that I did. And he goes, but this past time, and he's been so clean and sober now, I believe 6 years, 7 years. And
congratulations.
He knows who he is if he's listening, and I love you and I'm proud of you. And you can't overcome something like that until right here in your heart you want to do it. And
correct.
To anyone who's struggling and fighting with that disease, just know that there's people out there to help you, and day by day, and understand it could be done. But you have to want to make that change.
You have to change. Yeah, well said, man. I got two more for you. What does the next level of success in your life look like?
Oh, watching my son grow, man. I know. It's like cliche.
No, dude,
it's just like I'm not about me. I'm really about the next generation and my son and these young kids in Rahway and what can I do to make sure that they have a path? What opportunities can I provide? For my son and for the young residents and people of Rahway that I didn't have, that me and my friends didn't have. What can I do to make sure that these paths are opened up and that these kids know the opportunities that are available and presented to them. That's really, my goal. And, as far as higher office goes, that seems to be the question that I'm asked even, off camera, off
governor
mic.
time.
No, that is not an announcement at all. And I am supporting, Mikey Sherrill, Congresswoman Sherrill.
Nice.
I believe she would make an amazing governor, and we'll leave that job up to her. But the reason why, I really don't have, and I'm not going to say never because you never know, but I don't have any aspirations to move up because I truly love what I do, and I have a goal, and my goal is not higher office. My goal is what we spoke about earlier, and the goals and the vision that we're trying to achieve as a team, here in the city of Rahway, and that is really my passion, for as far as where I see myself in the next 5 years or so. It's achieving those goals and moving it forward, and I would never say never, because if you would ask me 10, 15 years ago, would you be the mayor of Rahway? I was like,
no.
What are you talking about?
I mean, little catch-22. I don't know. I mean,
so you never know. But as of right now, my focus is those goals we spoke about earlier, and the youth and mentoring them, and providing opportunities. Quick side story with that,
please.
So we talked about industry before, and when I was thinking about the podcast, certain things I wanted to bring up, and Merck,
I forgot. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's a huge.
They moved their world headquarters back in the beginning of 2023 to the city of Rahway.
Yes,
they were there in the early 90s. They moved, they relocated, and then they came back several years ago. And I was sitting down with the executives of Merck, and we were inside the Merck campus, and they're, well, Mayor, what do you talk to us like this and that, blah blah blah. Just what do you need? And I go, access. And they looked at me like, access? I go, gentlemen, ladies, I'm 40, I think I was like 43 at the time, I'm 46 now, next month.
You still look young, you still look good, you look good.
I'm 40-something years old, and and I've lived in this city my entire life. Do you know this is the first time I've been on this Merck campus?
Whoa.
And they looked at me like, what? I'm like, yes.
Wow.
I've lived here my entire life. I have not been here on a school trip. I have not been here for even my time on council. And when I say access, I want our students, I want our residents to have access to employment. I want our students to have access to what goes on behind this curtain, because you may have the brain sitting in Roy High School that can invent the cure for cancer. But if they don't know that literally in their backyard, there's one of the biggest research and development pharmaceutical companies.
It's wild, yeah.
And they don't know what goes behind this curtain. How will they ever know that that's even something that interests them? So access, ladies and gentlemen, that's
let's
what I'm
build a
for.
bridge.
And I have to say, kudos to Merck and credit to them. Job fairs within that year, they had a STEM program for the Rahway High School students.
That's amazing.
And the Linden
STEM
students, because
nice.
Merck's half in Rahway, most in Rahway, but a portion of their campus is also in Linden. So with the Linden High School and the Rahway High School, they had like a little STEM competition. And, I really appreciate their efforts. And, sometimes you go to those meetings and, they'd listen to you, but they're not hearing you.
They're not hearing you. Yeah.
They may be listening, but they're not hearing you. And it was
tall walls.
It was refreshing to sit down with some executives at a very high level, and for them to understand that my goal as mayor is for them to be involved in the community, for them to give back and create and no handouts, access.
That's it, man. Let's partner up.
Job
fair
fair, STEM programs. Let's make sure that the residents of Rahway understand that Merck is not just this big corporation they see on the NASDAQ. It's actual. It's here.
Yeah, this is our backyard. Let us play.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Let us get involved. I love
100%.
that. And I'm happy that partnership and that engagement and access is happening.
Absolutely.
Because again, like to your point, there could be that young kid that can really change things, and not having that access and closing him or her off could be detrimental to not just them or the youth, but the growth of Rahway itself. Just to have that, hey, this person was in Rahway High School and now look, they developed this and blah, blah, blah. It's just growth.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny because when I walked out of there, my assistant that was with me, he goes, man, the look on their fases. I go, yeah, because they were expecting me to ask them for money, something like, something,
shake them down.
Yeah, I go, that, and that was my story. I gave them my story. I've never been on this campus. I am the mayor of this city, and for the first time, I'm setting foot on the Merck campus, and it's been here the whole time. So,
awesome.
But like I said, kudos to them, provide that access and to continue to expand on those programs. And I look forward to that partnership growing and evolving throughout the years.
Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Last question before I get you out of here, Mayor. And this is the one that usually gets everybody stumbled. What's the last thing you purchased that changed your life?
Good question.
Take your time.
Last thing I purchased that changed my life.
Jake already knows.
My house.
There you go.
Yeah, my home, I would say, because, listen, my wife and I, we built that home literally from the ground up.
Studs and all.
Yeah. So, for me, it's more than just a home. It's something that I raised my children. I have so many fond memories of not only my daughter, but my son and family in general, friends. Yeah. I mean, your lifelong friends that you've been friends with 30 plus years coming over, by the pool and acting a fool, and just the
good times.
Yeah, but just like that, the purchase of that home provided so many great memories, and it changed my life in a positive way, because if I don't purchase that home, I don't become 6th ward councilman. Yeah, well, I didn't live in that ward at the time. I lived in Rahway, but I was over in a different ward where that council seat wasn't available. So, everything happens for a reason. So the purchase of that home allowed me to become 6th ward councilman. 6th ward councilman allowed me to become council president. And it's like, you ever see the movie back in the day, Mr. Destiny?
Mr. Destiny. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
It's like, the dots in your life, and it's like you take that one dot out, and in that situation, he struck out in the state championship game, and then he met his wife, and he had a great, happy life, but then he wishes that he hit the ball, and then Mr. Destiny comes and grants him that wish. He hits the ball, and his life's completely different, and he's rich and miserable. And
I gotta see this.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Who was it? Jim Belushi, I believe.
Jim Belushi?
Yeah, Belushi was
Mr.
in it.
Destiny?
Mr. Destiny was a great movie. And I forgot the older gentleman that acted. I'm horrible with actors' names, but he was in it as well. And he
Jim Belushi, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, yep.
Linda Hamilton.
He explains that
John Lovitz.
That everything in your life happens for a reason. And if you remove this one incident, even though it was a failure, well, that failure, after you struck out, you met your wife who loves and adores you, who started your family. So when he hit that baseball, he wound up marrying the prom queen and became this rich, successful guy that everyone hated, and he was miserable.
Wow.
But he thought, and before that happened, he thought that one moment in his life was the biggest failure. And it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to him, because of everything that happened that took place and happened to follow that incident. So
wow, I'm going to see that movie, man.
Yeah,
you put me on.
It's a good movie, and that it just made me think of that, because everything in life happens for a reason. And so the long-winded answer to your question is my home.
That's awesome, man. No, that's a beautiful story, brother. No. And normally that's the last question, but since you are a hip hop head, I used to be a rapper, so I got to ask you, who's your top 5 dead or alive?
I thought this question was coming. No, I did it with Grucey, but I kind of gave like a half, type of answer. So obviously I'm influenced by New York hip hop. Right?
Same here.
It's where I grew up. But I would have to say that obviously, and
no order. It could be like,
yeah. I mean, I would obviously, Biggie, Pac, just because of their influence on the culture of hip hop.
Yes.
And like I said, they were there during the golden years. And I mean, these rappers now are still trying to emulate, their style, their flow, and what they really brought to the culture and to hip hop. Next, I would say Jay-Z, because I think Jay-Z stepped into time, and people have their opinion about Jay-Z, but I always say, when you talk about the game of hip hop, he mastered it at all levels.
All levels.
I respect his flow. I respect his business savvy, and he was. He in his lyrics, he always said, I'm not a rapper. And he always believed that, and he truly, truly believed that. And he mastered the game of the art of hip hop, and he used it as a platform in order to grow a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And you have to have respect for that.
It's inspiring.
It's inspiring.
It really, really is. Took it further than rap.
Way further than rap. And you see a lot of guys, that were just as talented, if not more talented than he was at that time, that fizzled out or, really didn't make much of their lives. So that's 3.
2 more.
All right, 2 more. Big Pun.
Damn, my man.
Big Pun.
He's on my list.
Yeah,
yes.
And like I said, New York.
And they sleep on him. This guy was amazing.
And this is my list. This is like what and I think lyrically, he was just he was just in the top of the top of his class.
Nasty machine.
Yeah, he was just he was a lyricist, and I think that he is forgotten sometimes or underestimated sometimes in the realm of hip hop, but in New York hip hop, especially at that time in the mid to late 90s.
Oh, dude, he was a force to be reckoned with. First Latin to go double platinum.
Exactly. So and like I said, very New York influenced for me, Jadakiss.
Jadakiss. I loved Jadakiss is my number 6. I'll be honest with you, but I flip-flop him. Yeah. But he undeniable with the bars, with the rhymes. I don't think he has a classic album, but he has classic songs. There's verses, a difference. Yeah, and verses, yeah. That freestyle over the Biggie beat, that 42 bars. That's the.
Me and my friends and I, we send each other reels all the time on Instagram with like him rhyming, or the rappers from that era. And we sound like a bunch of old men. We're like, man, these kids these days ain't
they don't know, man.
They're not making music like this.
For real.
I never thought I'd be that old man going, man, you kids, your music's garbage. But and listen, it's not garbage. Shout out to all the artists out there. It's an art form. Listen, it's the cycle of life, right?
It's evolving. It's all evolving.
My son's gonna look at music 20-something years from now different than he looks at his current music now.
His Jay-Z would be Drake, probably.
Exactly.
You know
exactly.
What I mean?
And, but on the honorable mention tip, you gotta talk about the influence of Snoop Dogg. Groups like Outkast, Mobb Deep. Capone Noriega. I love seeing what Nori is doing with his podcast.
Drink Champs.
That's crazy. That's awesome. I was always a big fan of Nori, and he's really found his second calling.
He did.
He's known in especially the younger generation realm as the podcast guy.
Yeah, but you don't know him from Bloody Money, from the War Report, from NORE.
But the truth is that if you don't recreate himself, he ain't making enough money off old guys like us buying those, or not even buying them anymore, downloading or streaming them.
You got to reinvent yourself.
You got to and it's. It really all goes back to the theme I guess we've been talking about for most of the podcast is evolving. Evolving as a person, evolving as a professional, understanding that times are not going to stand still, and you need to be able to grow as a person and recognize that when it is time for change.
100%, man. Wow, Mayor Giacobbe, what a ride, man! This has been
fun.
So good. I loved it, man. You had a good time.
I had a great time.
This is all. We got to do it again soon, man.
Definitely.
I feel like again, I want to spotlight Rahway, New Jersey, right before we close as. First of all, shout out to you and your team and what you guys are doing for the city, the way it's growing, the culture, the diversity, the it's like a vibe when you go to Rahway. So 100%. And kudos to all the programs you have in place, to all the development plans you have in place. The plans you implemented with the police department, with the judo, amongst others, and I call it coaching for success. Looking at the game tape,
100%.
All this greatness, that you're doing for the town. It's doesn't go unrecognized, and I want to thank you for all the work you're doing to service, and also thank you for your time to jump on the podcast. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And if I could I'm not sure when this is going to air, every Thursday in August we have the Mayor Summer Concert Series. She kind of touched on the 112 last year.
Yeah, who we got this year?
We're kicking it off with the Michael Jackson tribute. Phil Collins tribute.
Nice.
And we're closing with Funkmaster Flex.
Oh, come on.
And I forgot the fourth one. No, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble.
Where is
but
Funk Flex. Who else?
How about this? Go to the City of Rahway's Facebook page, Instagram page, cityofrahway.com. Check out all of our events. We have the Mayor's Concert Series coming up, but throughout the year we have a ton of different events. Highlighting the city of Rahway, the different businesses, and just our culture, and as Luis said before, our vibe. Come down, check us out. We're open for business, and we hope to see you soon.
Amazing, Mayor. Thank you again for making time.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it. This was so much fun, man.
Great time,
man. Again, best of luck to you and your family, and to all the endeavors you're doing with the city. And everything else in between, man. God bless you, man.
Thank you,
You're doing
great,
brother. Absolutely.
Look forward.
Yep.
Look forward to doing this again, definitely.
Oh, yeah. This is an open door. Whenever you're ready, man.
Well, I'm up for re-election next year, so maybe.
Hey, we'll set it up, bro. It's okay. That's all good, bro. This is the platform, bro. Listen. But I told you this off camera. I'll say it on camera. This is a conversation, but this is also us a chance to network, to communicate, to get out ideas, to promote what we're doing. I don't have any horse in any race. I am in love and enamored with conversation and inspiration.
That's awesome.
So if I can be some type of light to you, I'm more than happy to help you out, brother.
You made it extremely comfortable, and it was a lot of fun. And like I said, I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you, man. Right. This comfort. You guys get paid to say that? You're like the 10th person that said you made me feel so comfortable.
No, seriously. Like,
thank you.
Listen,
thank you.
You kind of mentioned you mentioned it before. I took the interview not really knowing, but you walk into a situation and you could right away tell someone's intentions. And I know that yours was in a way information, wanting to get to know an individual. And when you provide that level of comfort, people are going to feel more comfortable opening up, and you do a great job. I think that's I actually got to take some lessons for you because seeing how you did these interviews and watching my old podcast tape, I need to get better. So another thing I need to grow at. So I appreciate you showing me how it's done.
Oh, thank you, man. You don't want to see the first episode I did 3 years ago. Trust me, it's still on YouTube, but don't look at it. But yeah, no, it's batting practice. It's 100%. Repetition. Yep. It's all just getting in the batting box and just keep swinging. So I'm pretty sure the more you do it, you'll fall right into place. Don't worry about it, man. All right. That is a wrap on episode 47 of I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast. If this podcast inspired or moved you in any way, please subscribe to the Apple, Spotify, and YouTube platforms by typing in Luis Guzman, I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman, and clicking that subscribe button. Please make sure to follow my Instagram at I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman for further content and updates. I am thankful for every listener, and I pray you have a blessed one, not a stressed one. Peace.
I need you by my side.